Awesome. Hey everyone, I'm Zosh. One of the instructors at DubsTech, our SON campus, which teaches workshops on data science, UX design, software development, and cybersecurity. And one of our most popular workshops is on Power BI, a data visualization tool which allows you to create reports and dashboards for organizations so that they don't need to spend their time looking at extremely long spreadsheets with billions of rows. Instead, they can spend their time actually being able to look at rich visualizations and interpret them within the span of maybe a minute or two and take action on them. And I'm going to go ahead and talk about this tool a bit to you today. And just for a quick show of hands, like you can go ahead and type in the chat if you ever like used Power BI before on desktop. So if you ever use Power BI, go ahead and write in the chat. And if you have no idea what Power BI is, write no, never used it, just so I get to know how familiar you all are with the tool. And accordingly, I'll know how I need to pace myself for today's workshop. Okay, so I'm seeing 2 never used it. Okay, what about the others? Has anyone used it? Go ahead and type in the chat so I just get a better understanding of the audience I'm talking to. Okay, so I'm seeing quite a few nevers. Okay, so Pankari has said she has. Okay, so Pankari, could you just tell me a bit more about, like, did you use Power BI on desktop? What exactly did you do with it?
Yeah, I used it on desktop. It was for the data science workshop by DubsTech, the COVID-19 one where you had to map out
Okay,
the...
this is going to be different. So you're going to enjoy this one then.
Okay.
You like this more than COVID-19.
All right.
Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and get started with today's workshop. So we've called it Bring Your Data to Life in Microsoft Power BI. And I'm going to go ahead and get started now with the first slide. So imagine you are working for a company, okay, and a company has an extremely long spreadsheet, or even like it has a large database with multiple tables, okay? And this company could be in the space of retail, for example. So imagine like they have a few like columns such as year, month, district manager, and then they're like trying to see how each district manager is performing. So they have a few columns to see how each district manager is performing for each category. And then you can see the total number of units they sold with respect to the total number of the cost. And you can also go ahead and see average unit price, this year's sales, and gross margin. Now these are extremely easy to interpret in terms of column names, but understanding the data which is there is going to be very difficult if you try and manually try and understand it. So instead, what you want to do is you want to convert these into rich visualizations, okay? And there are multiple tools out there, okay? But Power BI is the leader in this, okay? And according to a Gartner report, as you'll notice out here, Power BI is actually, it's a Microsoft product. It's leading, okay, by an extremely huge margin. And it's even ahead of Tableau, which comes in second. So Tableau and Power BI are both extremely popular softwares. And in my opinion, I prefer Power BI over Tableau and the rest because of a few things. First, it's a market leader. So most new features come in Power BI first, and then the market's copying them, okay? It's free for anyone to use, especially if you're a UW student. You can use the Power BI desktop app as well as use the Power BI online service, which we'll be using today. And it has a low learning curve as compared to Tableau. It's a really easy interface to understand. And it also has something known as an open visual marketplace, which allows you to copy visualizations made by other people and incorporate them into your own project. So you don't just rely on what Power BI has made as default visualizations. You can take visualizations made by other people as well. Kind of like imagine the same thing on Chrome, where in Chrome you have those plugins which you can add on to make your Chrome browser extremely powerful. Same way Power BI has that kind of same like kind of marketplace where you can just download third-party visualizations. And you can connect to a variety of data sources easily, which is what's made it so popular, because you can use like Excel files, CSV files, you can connect to databases, and a lot of databases are Azure databases. So you can just connect really easily to it. So it integrates really well with the Microsoft ecosystem. And also connects to a lot of APIs, and it's really well set up. So if you're going to work with an API such as the Adobe Mobile Analytics API, you can actually connect to it very easily. And they actually have dedicated apps for these, they call these apps inside of the software, but they're basically connecting to the different APIs you may want to work with. And it has a web app which works for both Windows and Mac, which you'll be using today. And also is a dedicated mobile app to preview your dashboards as well as your reports. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and show you some things that you could potentially make in Power BI. Okay, so in my opinion, the possibilities are endless as long as you have a good data set. But here are a few examples. You could make a report which highlights, okay, how your sales would improve if you were to focus your efforts on decreasing the total amount of returns you're getting for a skateboard like which you're selling. So out here you can see this is a one-note skateboard, and you notice there's a slider out here. If you reduce the total number of returns, you're trying to see, will that improve your sales, yes or no, and will that give you additional profit, yes or no. So this is really helpful, and this is what we call as a slider slicer. I'll be getting to that a bit more today. But there are also some other things you could make, such as you could make a COVID-19 like report where you focus on the total number of cases in each state in the United States of America, and you want to see how badly each state has been impacted. And you can also go ahead and make a report where you focus on what are the key influencers for your sales for a particular business you're running, and what are the most popular countries in which you have your sales. And you could also go ahead and make a report where you analyze your sales for a grocery store, which is a really small mom and pop grocery store, and you want to see how your sales are doing throughout the year. And there are multiple things you could make. These are a few examples, but here's one more. You could also go ahead and analyze your HR data set, and you can see how your new hires are performing versus your other hires. And you can also see how many positions have been filled, how many positions have not been filled. And you can also try and see what kind of talent you're looking for. So the possibilities are endless. Okay, and today we are going to make a report ourselves, and we're going to make a report for a fashion retail company. Okay, so we're going to make a business intelligence report for them, and they have two chains of companies under their belt, which is, one of them is called Lindsay's, which is kind of like a gourmet, not gourmet, but like a I would say something like imagine Gucci or Nordstrom, those kind of like boutique fashion boutiques. And they also have another chain under them, which is called Fashions Direct, which is kind of like your fast fashion brand like Zara or H&M, something like that. And we're going to be analyzing the data for Jan 2014 up to August 2014, okay? And I'm going to go ahead and just give you a quick preview as to what this report's going to look like. So you're going to go ahead and have a slicer out here, which is basically going to allow you to choose one district manager at a time. So you can select a district manager. Let's say you select Alan Guinot. You could see the key performance indicators for his performance, which is this year's sales, his gross margin this year, the gross margin percentage. You could also see like whether he's meeting his goals. So you can see his goal out here is like 179K, but he has only done 134K for April 2014. And then you can see overall his performance for the entire year. And to the right of this, you have a map. Okay, and this map's pretty cool actually. You can go ahead and see each store and each store's performance. You can notice the size of the bubble actually indicates the total number of sales the store has done. And one thing which is super cool but cannot be seen in this slide because it's a static slide is that if I was to hover over this, I'd actually get a pop-up which would show me the most popular categories at that store, which I think is super cool because this is a skill which we usually don't get an opportunity to learn in school, and no one discusses how you can create something known as tooltips. And I want us to get started by just opening up a browser and going to powerbi.microsoft.com. I'm going to share this link with you in the chat as well. Go to this website and take 40 seconds to do this. Once you come to the website, you should see a photo of a woman with her hand like on her chin. Okay, I'm not really sure what the photo is indicating because this is a data visualization tool. Before this, they had a car on it. Again, I kind of find the landing page is pretty weird because it's kind of vague. They don't actually indicate that this is a data visualization tool, but hopefully you find this page and we can get started. So take another 10 seconds And once you reach this page, I want you to go ahead and just pay attention to the top right-hand corner, okay? So everyone take a look at the top right-hand corner. You'll notice there's a button out here which is called sign in. Does everyone see the sign in button? Okay, click on sign in. Once you've clicked on sign in, it will ask you to log in with an ID. I have logged in with my University of Washington ID, okay? It's just automatically logged me in. But for you, you may just have to type in your UW ID. So just ensure like your UW ID is put in. So for me, I'm using my DubsTech account. So it's DubsTech at uw.edu. For you, it may be, it could be something like Joshua at uw.edu and so on, okay? So go ahead and type in your ID. Take another 30 seconds to do that. And once you've reached the screen, we'll move forward, okay? So I'm just gonna give you another 30 seconds for that. While you're loading it up, I'll just pull this report up so that y'all can take a look at what we're gonna make. Okay, now that everyone's on this home page, okay, this is basically a page where you can access all your recently created files. Okay, I'm in the DubsTech account, so you'll notice that I already have made quite a few files out here. Don't worry about it. It's completely fine. You don't need to like be overwhelmed by it. Just don't even pay attention to it. Instead, I want you to pay attention to the bottom left-hand corner instead. So you'll notice in the bottom left-hand corner, there's this arrow, okay? And I want you to click on this arrow in the bottom left-hand corner. It's called Get Data. So to make any report, you need data, okay? Because without data, you can't make a report. Like you can't, if you don't have information, you don't have like columns and rows of information, you can't really put a report together. So you need to get started by getting data into the system. And there are 4 types of data you can get into Power BI. So you can go ahead and get data from within your organization. So we are part of the UW organization. If you have permissions, okay, which most likely you do not, if you have permission, then you can actually go ahead and access a lot of UW data. And there's also services. So if you remember earlier, I was talking about how you can connect to APIs, okay? That's basically how you'd go ahead and like connect to an API such as Adobe Mobile Analytics Manager or SurveyMonkey Analytics and so on. And you can also go ahead and like import in CSV files and Excel files from your local computer, okay? And you can also go ahead and connect to databases as well. So you can connect to an Azure SQL database as well. So this is really popular. I think these two like tiles are really extremely popular with Power BI. And usually I see a lot of people like connecting to an Azure SQL database and working in Power BI. So I'm going to go ahead and instead ignore all 4 of these tiles because we already have a data set on Power BI which we're going to use, and even you have it as well. It's a sample data set, and to access the sample data set, I want you to pay attention to the link right under the tile which says My Organization. So you'll notice you have a tile out here, like you have a line out here which says Samples. It's right under the My Organization tile. Click on the Samples option. Once you've done that, you'll notice you have 8 tiles. These are 8 different sample data sets they have. I'm going to go ahead and select the retail analysis sample data set because I believe personally that this is the most appropriate data set to use when I'm introducing people to Power BI, because people understand sales the most as compared to the other like data sets. If you're not in business, you most likely would not understand these data sets. So therefore I've chosen sales. But if you're a business student, do check these out. You will most likely understand the different column names. But just for simplicity purposes, I'm going to use the retail analysis sample data set. So go ahead and select the retail analysis sample data set. Once you've clicked on it, you'll notice there's a button which says connect. Click on the connect button. Okay, that's basically you're connecting to a database. Okay, And in the top right hand corner, you'll see a new dashboard is ready. Just ignore this message. Okay. And after that, what I want you to do is pay attention to your left panel out here. You'll notice this profile picture. It says My Workspaces. My Workspace. My Workspace is basically your workspace which contains all the files you made within Power BI. So there are 4 types of files you can make. You can make dashboards, reports, workbooks, and data sets. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and get started with dashboards and explain to you what's a dashboard. A dashboard, okay, is basically a dashboard is basically I would say it's a live preview, okay, of how your business is performing on a particular day, which is giving you some quick insights, okay. So if you were to take a look at a Power BI dashboard, such as this dashboard right here in front of us, what you'll notice on this dashboard is that you're getting some quick insights into your business via each of these styles, such as you can go ahead and like see there's a, if I'm not wrong, one second, this is an opportunity count. You can see your revenue is 2 billion. You can also go ahead and see these various graphs, give you a quick insight into your business, maybe for this day or maybe for the past 1 week, okay? So dashboards are always focusing on the last 1 day or the last 1 week or maybe last 2 weeks. It's not like trying to look at historical data, okay? And these are quick insights. The visualizations are pre-decided and there's no exploration which you can do. So usually dashboards are going to be viewed on the go as well as to quickly understand how your business is performing. Now, if you have more time, you're instead going to go ahead and make something known as a Power BI report, okay, which is what we're going to focus on today. So what's the difference between a dashboard and a report? A dashboard is giving you quick insights, okay, and the visualizations are predefined, okay? Versus for a Power BI report, a report is focusing on historical trends as well as giving you the opportunity to explore the data with a lot more detail. You can make whatever type of visualizations you want, explore the data and get the insights and ask detailed questions and accordingly move forward with your business. So usually when you're like doing maybe I would say a monthly report or an end of quarter report, that's when you're going to be using the reports feature of Power BI versus the dashboard feature, okay? And reports can usually go from maybe 10 pages all the way up to 40 pages or even 50 pages sometimes. And I'm seeing there's a message in the chat just come in, which is, why does your address bar for the project say app.powerbi.microsoft? Okay, this is a really good question. So this is just a subdomain. Okay, so you'll notice how this says app.powerbi.com. Notice how on Google it says docs.google.com. Okay, this is basically what we call as subdomains. So subdomains usually try and indicate as to what aspect of this domain you're accessing. So if I was to go into google.com is going to be this information, but I'm going to be accessing the docs part of google.com. Therefore it says docs.google.com. And we're using the Power BI app. It's basically a software. Therefore it says app.powerbi.com. Okay. Does it answer your question?
Okay, I don't know why app. What are the other choices that you may have instead of app?
You don't need to worry about it. Like it doesn't matter. Like to you, it doesn't matter. It's just for it's just for people who like working really quickly. Like if you to like really take a look at how this was set up, like
So,
see how it says powerbi.microsoft.com. Okay, you can keep whatever type of subdomain you want. Okay.
so as soon as you just logged in, then you went to the app that
Yeah.
right?
So
So now you are, as
that's
you are
basically a
now
subdomain.
explaining, as now you are explaining a dashboard um, or report or a service. If we choose one of those, then app will be substituted with one of the other ones.
No, it will still say app. It will still say app. I
Oh, okay.
wouldn't worry too much
App is
about
the
it.
main one.
Pardon?
So app is the main one, and then
Yeah,
as
app. Okay, app is basically where you access the software from. So whatever you make on Power BI, like whatever you make on Power BI online is going to be hosted on the app.powerbi.microsoft domain. Okay.
okay, but if we install the Power BI on our machine, then we don't have that for sure.
No, if you use Power BI on the desktop app, you wouldn't. But usually Power BI desktop reports also get published online, and then they'll get this domain which says app.powerbi.com. Do you see this?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
don't
Thank
worry too
you.
much about it. Don't stress out about it at all. There's nothing big or fancy about it. It's just like people create multiple subdomains just so that people can use it, and like it makes more sense as to which part of the system they're on. Okay, because this is what we call as a storefront. The storefront is basically the marketing website. Like this is how they're marketing the software. This is the actual software. Okay.
Just I wanted to know what are the other choices can be instead of
It can
app.
be whatever you want. You can literally use whatever, like whatever word you want. Like this could have literally like just had my name and just said zosh@powerbi.com.
Oh,
Uh, it's really up to the company as to what subdomain they want to keep. Okay.
okay, okay. Thank you. Got you. Thanks.
Okay. So getting back to Power BI reports. So Power BI dashboard is usually going to focus on giving you live, quick insights, versus a report is going to be focusing on historical like data. Okay, so you're maybe making a monthly report or maybe end of quarter report. So how does a report usually look? A report usually looks like something like this right here in front of you, which is you're going to go ahead and get to see a page. Okay, I've made one page for you all today. So you go ahead and like you can interact with it. So if you want to see how each district manager is performing, for example, you can select a district manager and you can get some live insights about them and see how they've been performing up until now. So from Jan to August, you can see how they're performing. And then if let's say you to select a store, you can see how that particular store is performing, and notice how the numbers change. This is known as a drill through of the report. And if you remember earlier, I told you if you hover over the particular store, you can also see the most popular categories. So all of this is basically done in Power BI, and people use Power BI to make these reports because you wouldn't be able to achieve this via Excel or any other tool out there. Okay. And we're going to go ahead and now get started with actually making a report. So to make a report, we're going to shift from the reports tab to data sets. So can everyone go ahead and select data sets? Once you select your data sets, you'll notice I have this same data set 3 times. Don't worry about it. This is because I've done the workshop 3 times with this account. Okay. Notice how there's this button which has a graph with a plus icon on it. That's basically saying with this data set, you can start a new business report. So I'm going to go ahead and click on create report. Okay. So everyone should go ahead and click on this button with the bar graph and a plus icon. Once you've done that, you'll notice a new report file is being created, and there'll be an empty canvas, and you'll have 3 panels to the right hand side, which are fields, visualizations, and filters. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and close the filters panel for today's workshop. We're not going to be using it. And the next and most important thing you need to do is whenever you're working with any online software or any software in general, it's very important to start off by saving your file. Okay, I think it's extremely important to save your file no matter what software you use. So I'm just going to go ahead and save my file by going to the top left-hand corner and clicking on File and clicking on Save. And I'll just give my file name. Let's call it Demo May 24. Okay. Now that I've done that, you'll notice it says report saved, but you've just lost those 2 panels which are on the right hand side. That's completely okay. I'll just go ahead and click on edit report. Okay, so see this edit report button in the top left hand corner. Click on edit report, and that will now allow you to go ahead and start actually creating a report. Okay, so when we saved the file, it just took us out of the editing view and it took us to the reading view, and we've now just come back to the editing view again. Okay. So to get started with making a report, we're going to go ahead and click on this add text box button, because we need to create a text box to give our report page an actual name. So take a look at this top bar. You'll notice there's a text box. Click on the text box option. And I'm just going to go ahead and give our report page a name. I'll just say individual district manager performance. Okay. Now just go ahead and increase our font size to 32. I'll just make this a bit wide. I think 32 is a bit too big. I'll use 28 instead. I'll just make my text box smaller. So I want everyone to go ahead and do this. Take 10 seconds to do this. Okay, now that we've gone ahead and added a text box in, we're going to go ahead and get started with adding the next element which we need, which is a slicer. What is a slicer? A slicer is basically a drop-down menu or like a list of items you can select from, or a slider. Okay, so any kind of form element you can interact with to change the data being shown on the screen, okay, is called as a slicer. And why is it called a slicer? It's because you're getting a particular slice of information which you want. So we currently want a slice of Andrew Ma's information. Therefore, we're getting Andrew Ma's information. If I say I want a slice of Carlos Grillo, notice how the data changes to show me Carlos Grillo's information. We're getting the slice of Carlos Grillo. So therefore, it's called a slicer. So to create a slicer, pay attention to your right-hand side. You have a panel called Visualizations. Under the Visualizations panel, you have a slicer icon, which is basically in the first column, 5th row. Click on this icon, and you've gone ahead and created your first visualization element. It's empty at the moment, and don't worry about the fact that it's empty. That's completely fine. We're going to go ahead and put some options into it. As you're aware, the report which you're aiming to make is going to have a slicer which has a drop-down menu of district managers. So to add the information in, okay, the options out here, you need to go ahead and go to the Fields panel. So take a look at the rightmost panel called Fields. Under the Fields panel, you have a table called District. Click on the District panel. Under it, you have two columns, District and District Manager. Drag the District Manager column and place it into this option called Field. Okay, I'll repeat myself. I kept my slicer selected. It's empty at the moment. I went to Fields. So notice this Fields panel on the right-hand side. Under it, I went to District. Under District, I went to the column called District Manager. Just dragged it into the field option. Notice how the slicer we've now got is a list of options. We want to make this a drop-down menu. To make this a drop-down menu, pay close attention to the top right-hand corner of your slicer. So see this small drop-down arrow? Okay, the small drop-down arrow is in the top right-hand corner of your slicer visualization. Click on it, and you'll see there's an option which says list, which is the current style you're using. I'm going to shift from list to drop-down, and now we have a drop-down menu from which you can select your district managers. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and select Alan Goinot for the time being, and I'll just reduce the size of my slicer. Now, the next thing you want to do is you want to ensure that only one district manager can be selected at a time. Right now, I can select multiple district managers. We do not want to be able to do that. We only want to select one district manager at a time. So to fix this, I'm going to go ahead and select my slicer. Go to your visualizations panel. Under your visualizations panel, you'll notice you have a paintbrush icon. Click on the paintbrush icon. Under the paintbrush icon, there's an option called Selection Controls. Select Selection Controls. And under Selection Controls is an option called Single Select. I'm going to switch that on. So what we've just done is we've gone ahead and told Power BI that this was a slicer where you could select multiple options. We want to only have the user only select one option at a time so they don't get confused. So to do that, we selected this visualization. We went to the visualizations panel. We selected the paintbrush, which is basically to edit the visual aesthetics as well as the settings for our visualization. And from there, we said for selection controls, the option single select should be on. That means you can only select one district manager at a time. Okay. Take 10 seconds to do this. And if you'd like me to repeat myself, just go ahead and unmute yourself and tell me that you'd like me to repeat myself so I know I have to repeat. Okay. Okay, it seems like people are following along. Okay, the next step I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to go ahead and create a line chart. Okay, what is a line chart? A line chart basically looks something like this. So You're going to be able to get to see this year's sales as well as your sales goal. Okay. So to create this line chart, what you need to do is you're going to go ahead and go to your visualizations panel, go to the first column, second row, select the line chart visualization icon, and just draw your line chart, make it a bit big. And you'll notice it's empty. We need to put some information into it. So the information we need to put into it is the date and the sales value and the sales goal. Okay. I'm going to get started with adding in our sales values. Okay. So to add a sales values, go to your right hand or the right hand, go to the panel which is on the right hand side. So go to the fields panel, select the fields panel. Under it, there's a table called sales. Select your sales panel. Under it, there's a column called this year sales. Select this year sales. Okay. And you know, like the column is called this year sales because it has a traffic signal next to it. That's used to bring attention to it. Under this year sales, you'll notice the column has 3 sub-columns to it, which are value, goal, and status. I'm just going to go ahead and drag the column called value, which is basically this year's sales value. So I'm going to drag this column and I'm going to place it into the option called values. Okay. I'll repeat myself. I created a line chart visualization from the visualizations panel. After that, I went to fields. Under fields, there's a table called sales. Under sales, there's a column called this year sales. This year sales is a sub column called value. I dragged the sub column called value and I placed it under the option called values. Okay. And right now you'll notice you only have 1 dot in your line chart. That's because you've not gone ahead and added an axis. Okay. So you need to add an axis of time to actually showcase how your sales have changed with time. So right now there's no axis. So to add the axis, we need to go to the next table called time. So take a look at the last table. It's called time. Select the time table, and under it there's a column called date. Drag this column called date and place it onto your axis. Okay. And you'll still notice that you still not got your line, and you may be confused as to why this is happening. This is happening because the current format of the date is a date hierarchy file, is a date hierarchy data type. A date hierarchy data type is good for certain situations and is an advanced data type. We're not going to focus on using a date hierarchy type. Instead, we'll just use a regular date data type. So we need to change this. So pay close attention to the small drop-down arrow next to date. Click on it, and I'll select date instead of date hierarchy. And now notice how you have a line chart where you can actually see your sales for Jan compared to Feb and see how you performed in March and so on. Okay. So I want everyone to go ahead and do that. And now the next thing we want to do is, you want to see how a business is performing with respect to the goals. So are we actually reaching our goals? So pay attention to your sales table. Under your sales table, you have a column called this year sales. Under this year sales, you have a sub column called goal. Drag your sub column called goal and place it under your this year sales column. So just notice what I'm doing. I'm dragging goal and I'm putting it under this year sales value. And now you notice you have 2 lines. Your dark blue line indicates your this year sales goal. So I think this is a bit confusing to people. So I'm going to use the color red instead. So to change from dark blue to red, I'm going to keep my visualization selected. Click on the paintbrush. Once you've done that, go to the option which says data colors. And from data colors, you can actually go ahead and change the colors for your lines. I'm going to change this year sales goal to red. Okay. And right now it's a bit difficult to actually interpret the exact values of each of the peaks on my line chart and each of the depressions. And that's because like we don't have something known as data labels. What are data labels? They're actual labels telling us what each peak is. So like right now, if you take a look at this, I can only understand the value for each of these peaks if I hover over it. Okay. So what I want to do is I want to always see my values for each of my peaks. So to do that, keep this line chart selected and go to the option called data labels and switch it on. Notice now how we can see the value for each peak and each depression. That just makes the chart easier to interpret overall when we are looking at it for finer details. So you've gone ahead and created a line chart, okay? Now, the next thing we need to go ahead and do is we want to go ahead and create a map. So to create a map, take a look at your visualizations panel and take a look at the first column, fourth row. Select the map. I don't know why it's not letting me select it. 1 second. Select the map. Once you selected the map, you'll notice it's empty at the moment. Don't worry about it. Just place it on the right-hand side. Okay. Now for maps, you have quite a few interesting options. You have location, you have legend, you have latitude, longitude, size, and tooltips. And you may be confused, why do you have latitude and longitude and location? So traditionally we tell people to use latitude and longitude if they actually have the exact coordinates, but most likely people do not have it. Therefore, an alternate option to them is the location option, where they can just go ahead and put an address or a postal code or a city name or a country name, and that just gets sent to Bing Maps, which returns the approximate latitude and longitude of that input you've given. So for this visualization we're making, we actually have access to the postal code of each store. So I'm going to go to my fields panel. Under my fields panel, I have a table called store. Under store, I have a column called postal code. I'm going to drag my postal code column and I'll just put it under the location option. Notice now how I have a map which indicates the different locations of all my stores. Okay. And I can see the different locations of all my stores for Alan Guinot. If I was to click on this drop down menu, I could also shift to Brad Sutton. And I could see the locations of Brad Sutton's stores. Okay. Now, the next thing we want to do for this map is we want to ensure that each circle actually represents the total sales for that store, just so that we can actually add a deeper level of encoding and so our map is easier to interpret, okay? So to do that, keep your map selected and now go back to your fields panel. Under your fields panel, go to your table called sales. Under sales, there's a column called this year sales. Drag the subcolumn called value and place it into size. Notice how the size of each, like the bubble for each store is now actually increase or decrease in size based on this year sales value. That just helps us understand which stores are performing well and which stores are not performing well. Okay. Now, the next thing we want to do is you want to make a map easier to interpret. Right now, it's extremely noisy with all this additional background information, such as these wildlife forests next to the stores. This is not really critical for what we are discussing. So I'm just going to go ahead and make it easier to interpret. So keep the map selected. Go to your visualizations panel. Under that, there's a option called paintbrush. Go ahead and select your paintbrush icon. And under that, I'm going to go to the option called map styles. Select map styles and from theme road, switch to theme grayscale. Notice how the map is now easier to read. Okay. You can also switch to dark mode if you want. Okay, that's also another option if you'd like. And there's also aerial. So the way aerial looks is like, it's kind of like confusing and not necessary for what we need. But if you're working in the army and you're like maybe focusing on like mountainous regions, then this kind of view would be helpful. We're just going to use grayscale because we don't need this level of detail. So I'm going to go ahead and select grayscale. And after that, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to focus on thinking about how we can further improve this map. So at the moment when I hover my cursor over any of the store locations, you'll notice we have a pop-up that shows up, okay? And this pop-up is just telling us the store location with respect to the postal code, as well as the total sales for the store. But if I wanted to actually see how a particular store is performing, I could definitely click on a store and immediately drill through to see that store's performance, okay? But what if I wanted to see what are the most popular items at that store? Right now, I can't get to see that, okay? So potentially I may want to see that when I hover over the store. And the way we're going to do that is by creating a custom tooltip. So if we take a look at the visualization we're going to now make, notice how when I hover over the store, there's a bar chart which pops up telling me the most popular like categories in each store. And you can also see the total number of like the sales value as well. So to do this, we need to create something known as a custom tooltip. So to create the custom tooltip, go ahead and pay attention to your bottom bar. Inside of your bottom bar, you'll notice you have one page created. It's called page one. You can rename this page if you want first. So I'll just call it individual district manager performance. And now we're going to go ahead and create a new page, okay? And you'll be like, Josh, we're creating a tooltip. So why do we need to create a new page? So the way we create custom tooltips in Power BI is that we actually have to create a new page and design the tooltip on that page and give Power BI some additional instructions, and then we can set it up. So you can't create a tooltip right from this page. You actually need to create a new page. So to create the new page, click on this plus icon in the bottom bar to add a new page. So click on this. You'll notice it says page one. I'm just going to rename this and call this custom tooltip. Okay. Now, the next thing we need to do is we need to set up this page to tell Power BI that this isn't an actual Power BI. This isn't an actual report page. This is actually a tooltip page. So to do that, pay attention to your visualizations panel. Under your visualizations panel, there's a paintbrush icon. Select it. From there, you have an option called page information. Okay. In this page information option, notice how you have a switch to actually switch on tooltip. So switch on the tooltip switch. And now you're basically telling Power BI that, hey, this is not a normal page. This is a tooltip page, okay? The next thing you need to do after that is you need to select page size, because you don't want a page to be as large as a page you're previewing the pop-up on. So imagine if you were to take a look at this page, you don't want your pop-up to be the entire size of this page. You just want it to be a small square. So to do that, shift from type 16:9 to tooltip, and you'll still be like, Zosh, this is a pretty big size. So this is not the actual size. So if you want to see the actual size of the square, pay attention to your top left-hand corner. You'll notice you have this option called view. Select view and select actual size. And now you can see the actual size of your tooltip. Take 10 seconds to do this. And after that, we'll actually focus on creating a tooltip and the bar chart for it. Okay, I'm noticing there's a question which has come in. Could I repeat the actual size part, please? Yeah, of course, Pankuri. So take a look at my paintbrush icon in my visualizations panel. I've first gone ahead and ensured my page size is a tooltip, okay? Once I did that, Pankuri, I went to the top left-hand corner. In the top left-hand corner, I clicked on the view option. Under the view option, okay, you'll notice your current setting will say fit to width. We want to switch from fit to width to actual size, okay? So click on actual size and you should get the same view as I do, okay? And Pankuri, if you still need help, let me know. Okay. So I see a question, which is, please show it one more time before tooltip. So could you be a bit more specific? But what the exact question is, like, where do you exactly want me to start from? So I think your name is Shafe? Okay, so right before this, what exactly is right before this? Could you be a bit more specific, like right from when I started to create the tooltip for the first time, or just the sizing? You can unmute yourself and speak up. You don't need to type a long message if.
Sizing.
Pardon?
Just sizing.
Just sizing? Okay. So pay attention to my visualizations panel. Under my visualizations panel, I selected my paintbrush. I selected the page size option. Do you see that?
Yes.
Okay, under page size, there's an option called type. Instead of type 16 by 9, I selected tooltip. Okay, select tooltip. That's basically a smaller size, okay? Have you done that? Now pay attention to the top left-hand corner. There's an option called view. Do you see view?
Yes.
Click on view and now select actual size so that you can actually see the actual size of your tooltip. Okay?
Okay.
Awesome. Cool.
Thank you.
Now, oops, I did not mean to do that. 1 second. I just clicked on the back button, my mistake. Give me 1 second, I'll just go back. Okay, the next thing we want to do is you're going to go ahead and create a bar chart, okay? And this bar chart is going to basically show us the sales for each category. So go ahead to your visualizations panel, select the bar chart, click on this bar chart icon. You'll notice you have an empty bar chart out here. We need to add some values to it. So pay attention to your fields panel. Under your fields panel, you'll notice you have an item table. Click on the item table and you'll notice under your item table, you have a column called category. Drag the category column into axis. You'll be like, Joshua, I can't see any of my categories. That's completely fine. We need to add some values and then you'll be able to see your category names. So next step after that is we need to go to the sales table. Under the sales table, go to the column called this year's sales. Notice how it has a traffic signal next to it. Under it, there's a subcolumn called value. Drag value and place it under the option called values. And now you can see your total sales for each category. Okay. Now, one thing which is annoying me about this table is that it's a bit busy, and considering the fact that like this is such a small tooltip, like such a small area, you're gonna make sure that the bar graph gets enough space. So we're gonna change a few things. We gotta know that these are categories, so we don't need this y-axis label. And we gotta know that this is also this year's sales as well. We can remove this, and we also may want to add some data labels out here. So to do this, pay attention to your visualizations panel. Go to the paintbrush. Under your paintbrush, go ahead and select y-axis. Under y-axis, scroll down, switch off the y-axis title. Okay. Scroll further down, go to the x-axis, and switch off the x-axis title as well. Take 10 seconds to do this. Okay. The next thing you need to do is you need to add some data labels just so that it's easier to know what are the exact values for each bar. So go ahead and switch on data labels. And now we can see the values for each bar, which is 4.5 million, 3.6 million, and so on. Okay. The last thing I'd like to do is I'd like to go ahead and actually reduce the size of my title out here. So to reduce the size of this title, scroll down, click on this title. And now you can go ahead and reduce the font size of your title and make it 10 or even 11. I think 11 is fine. Okay. Now the last and most crucial step is telling Power BI when you want this tooltip to show up. So you made your tooltip, but you've not told Power BI that where you want your tooltip to show up or when you want it to show up. So you need to actually go ahead and assign it to a particular type of value you want your tooltip to show up for. What do I mean by that? You need to go ahead and tell Power BI that when exactly do you want this tooltip to show up. So right now you just created it. You need to say that if the user is hovering over a particular type of value, let's say the user is hovering over a sales value, the user is hovering over a location value, the user is hovering over a district manager value, then I want this pop-up to show up. So in this scenario, if you remember, our map, okay, had circles, and each circle represented a total number of sales. So it was a sales value, which was each circle. So I'm going to go back to Custom Tooltip and pay attention to your Fields panel. Under your Fields panel, go to Sales. Under Sales, you'll notice how you have this year sales. Okay. Under this year sales, notice how you have three subcolumns. You have value, goal, and status. We're going to select value because each circle size is defined by the value of sales that store is done. So drag value, and notice how where I'm dragging value, I'm dragging it into a section called tooltip. So do you see this tooltip section? I'm just going to go ahead and drag it into the tooltip section. This is basically telling Power BI that you want your pop-up to show up whenever you hover this year's sales value. Okay. So I'll repeat myself. I deselected everything. After that, I went to my visualizations panel. I found a tooltip section. Okay, this tooltip section needs to know when you want your pop-up to show up. So I want this pop-up to show up or tooltip to show up when I'm hovering over this year sales value. So go to your fields panel, go to the column called this year sales, and drag the subcolumn called value and place it under your tooltip section. Okay, now that you've done this, go to your map on the previous page and notice how when I hover over any particular store location, I can now see how that store is performing. Okay. Now, the next thing you may want to go ahead and do is you want to go ahead and share this report with your friends or with your boss or your manager. So how do you go ahead and do that? The way you go ahead and do that is by paying attention to the top left-hand corner. You'll notice that you have this option called File. Click on File, and you'll notice you have an option called Publish to Web. Select Publish to Web. Once you've done that, click on Create Embed Code, and click on Publish. And now we've got a link which we can share with anyone, and they can view it publicly. And they can learn more about your report which you've created. Do take note that usually reports have multiple pages to them. Okay. And right now you'll notice how it says 2 out of 2. Don't worry about that. That's just basically you had your second page showing up first. I'll help you fix this as well. So go back to your Power BI report. Okay. And just close this. Notice how your second page is a custom tooltip. You don't want people to actually view your tooltip. You just want them to view maybe page 1. So to hide this page, right click and just say hide page. Okay, I'll repeat myself. I just took my cursor over custom tooltip, which is your second page. We don't want people to see it. So right click and just say hide page. Once you've done that, go to the top left-hand corner, click on file and just save your report. Now, if you go back to that same link you shared, if I refresh our report, that's odd. It should not be showing me the second page. I'll just go ahead and hide again. Let me just click on hide page. I don't know why I did not hide it earlier. I'll now click on file, save. There we go. And now if I refresh my report, notice how we have only one page showing up. So the user can just focus on this and not on the tooltip which we created. Okay. And that's how you use Microsoft Power BI to create rich visuals from spreadsheets of information. Okay. Now, there are some other features of Power BI I'd like to go ahead and show you. So the first feature is the fact that you can also download this as a PowerPoint presentation. So it has an option called export to PowerPoint. Do note that this will not be interactive if you export it to PowerPoint, but if you want to like just give a static report, then PowerPoint is fine. And you can also export it as PDF. Now, the other thing you'd also like to note is that Power BI only comes with a set of, I think, 25 visualizations, okay? You may want to go ahead and not 25, 30 visualizations. You may want some custom visualizations which you don't see out here. So they have a visual marketplace where you get a lot of free visualizations. So to access the visual marketplace, click on these three dots in your visualizations panel and click on the option which says get more visuals. And you'll notice a variety of free visualizations. My favorite visualization for free is called the Sunburst Visualization, which allows me to look for patterns in data sets which have multiple subcategories, okay? Like for example, you could have a men's category, and under the men's category, you could have like t-shirts, trousers, shoes, and then under shoes, you could have like sports shoes, formal shoes, and so on. So there are multiple subcategories. A Sunburst chart really helps me in analyzing each category really quickly. Okay. And there's some also other like some great visualizations which allow you to forecast information as well. Do check them out. They have some good documentation for each visualization. So if you have the time and you're interested in learning more about Power BI, do check this section out. And that is it from me for today. I would encourage all of y'all to go ahead and continue playing with Power BI. Okay, so respect to next steps, you can share this report with your friends and parents, okay, as well as your teammates. You can add more pages to this report, play with the other like columns which are there in the data set. You could also create more visualizations and try to play with the other sample data sets in Power BI if you're a business student and you're interested in marketing or like opportunity analysis and so on. And add this project which I showed you today to your portfolio. I think it's a super cool project to show someone and tell them that, hey, I have this skill. So if you're applying for consultancy roles or data science roles or data visualization roles, it's a pretty nice project to use. And you can also add this skill to your resume. One thing I'd also like to share with you is that not a lot of people actually know how to make the custom tooltip we made today, which I think is super cool. So you can definitely like show that off to your recruiter who's interviewing you or your hiring manager who's interviewing you. And if you'd like to learn more, there are also some free tutorials on Power BI's learning website. So if I just go ahead and click on it, you'll notice that it just opens up and you can find different ways to learn more about Power BI. I love the documentation and the guided learning sections. They're super cool. So do check them out. And thank you so much for coming in today. If you have a question, comment down in the chat. Like we have a chat, you can also unmute yourself, and you can also go ahead and connect with me on LinkedIn. Okay. So if you have a question, let me know in the chat or unmute yourself and I'll be more than happy to answer. Okay, I have a question for what is my LinkedIn? So sharing it in the chat. Any other questions? Okay, so thank you everyone for coming in. I don't see any other questions. If you have any questions for me in the future when you start working with Power BI, feel free to reach out to me. I'm more than happy to help you out. And thank you all for coming in. Have a good rest of your hackathon. I know this is the last workshop of today and you're also getting busy with submitting your work, but I hope this could help you out and you could potentially add this in as an extra feature for your hackathon project, okay? And do remember that you can also use Power BI with sample data sets. That means you can also create your own sample data set to explain the situation and show how the dashboard would look as well. So I think Power BI is really helpful therefore at hackathons because you can make a fake data set and show what the potential situation would look like if you made a dashboard for someone. Okay. Take care, everyone. And Jesela, Anirudh, Kuang, Shrafe, super welcome. Sneha, super welcome as well. AR, super. Thank you so much for coming in. and see you all next time. Cool. Take care. Goodbye.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Goodbye. Thank you.